how feasible would it be to stage a Mars landing? A question that might seem outlandish at first, but when you take a moment to ponder, it becomes rather intriguing. It's a query that has tickled the curiosity of space enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists alike, stirring up a world of thought-provoking discussions. The concept of staging a Mars landing, honestly, is a fascinating one. It's a topic that transcends the boundaries of reality and fiction, blurring the line between what's possible and what's simply a figment of our imagination. It's a realm where science lies in bed with speculation and fact dances with fiction. Over the years, there have been numerous theories that have emerged. Some are grounded in scientific possibility, while others are purely speculative, born out of the human penchant for the dramatic and the extraordinary. These theories range from the plausible to the downright absurd, each one adding a new layer to this complex tapestry of supposition and hypothesis. There are those who believe that with the right technology and resources, it's entirely feasible to stage a Mars landing. They argue that with the advancements we've made in special effects and simulation technology, we could create a convincing portrayal of a Mars landing that could fool even the most discerning viewer. On the other hand, there are skeptics who argue that such a feat is beyond our capabilities. They point out the numerous challenges and obstacles that stand in our way, from the vast distances involved to the harsh and inhospitable conditions on the Martian surface. But regardless of which camp you belong to, there's no denying that the idea of staging a Mars landing is a fascinating one. It's a topic that compels us to question our perceptions of reality and challenges us to push the boundaries of our imagination. So let's embark on this journey together, exploring the various facets and theories surrounding this intriguing concept. Buckle up as we delve into the fascinating journey of staging a Mars landing. Our destination, Mars, is not just another planet. It's a world that's simultaneously familiar and alien, a place that's captivated our collective imagination for centuries. Let's start with the basics. Mars is the fourth planet from the Sun, a stone's throw away in cosmic terms, yet it's an average of 140 million miles from Earth. That's like circling our own globe nearly 6,000 times. This vast distance is one of the many challenges we face when contemplating a journey to the Red Planet. But let's say we've conquered the distance, what then? Well, Mars has an atmosphere, but it's not exactly welcoming. It's wafer thin compared to ours, composed mainly of carbon dioxide with traces of nitrogen and argon. This thin atmosphere provides little protection from solar radiation and is not breathable by humans. And let's not forget the weather, from dust storms that can engulf the entire planet to temperatures that can plunge to minus 80 degrees Celsius. Mars is not for the faint-hearted. Then there's the terrain. Mars is home to the largest volcano and the deepest canyon in our solar system. Olympus Mons, the Martian volcano, stands at a staggering 13 miles high, nearly 3 times the height of Mount Everest. Meanwhile, Valles Marineris, the Grand Canyon of Mars, stretches over 2,500 miles across the planet's surface, a distance equivalent to a drive from New York to Los Angeles. Navigating such a varied and extreme landscape would be a monumental task. Yet despite these challenges, the allure of Mars remains. Its red soil, its polar ice caps, its potential for past or even present life all make Mars a tantalizing destination. With these daunting characteristics, Mars proves to be a challenge and a half. But it is a challenge that sparks our curiosity, fuels our imagination, and drives our desire to explore, to learn, and to understand the universe we inhabit. A journey to Mars begins with a rocket. Now, this isn't any ordinary rocket we're talking about. It's a colossal masterpiece of engineering, a behemoth that defies gravity and propels a spacecraft into the vast expanse of the cosmos. Imagine a towering structure reaching towards the heavens. This rocket would be larger than any skyscraper you've ever seen, dwarfing the tallest buildings on Earth. It's not just about the size, though. It's the power that really matters. The rocket needs to generate a mind-boggling amount of thrust, enough to escape the clutches of Earth's gravity and propel the spacecraft on a trajectory towards Mars. We're talking about millions of pounds of thrust and energy release equivalent to multiple nuclear explosions, but brute force isn't enough. Precision is key. The rocket must be controlled with surgical accuracy. Even a minor deviation could send the spacecraft off course, resulting in a failed mission. The technology to achieve this precision is an intricate dance of physics, engineering, and computer science. It's a symphony of sensors, actuators, and algorithms working in perfect harmony to guide the rocket on its precise path. The rocket is also the guardian of the spacecraft. It must shield its precious cargo from the harsh conditions of space travel. The intense heat of the launch, the bone-chilling cold of space, the violent vibrations and the deafening noise, the rocket must withstand it all. And let's not forget about the fuel. The rocket needs to carry enough fuel to reach Mars, but every extra kilogram of fuel means a heavier rocket requiring even more fuel. It's a delicate balancing act. The solution: stages. The rocket is designed in stages, each with its own engine and fuel. As the rocket ascends, it sheds its used up stages, becoming lighter and more efficient. The design, construction, and launch of this rocket is a monumental task. It requires the brightest minds, cutting-edge technology, and billions of dollars. But remember, we're staging a Mars landing. It's all smoke and mirrors. The real challenge? Creating a convincing rocket, a convincing launch, a convincing journey, and that, my friends, is no small feat. Creating a convincing rocket is a monumental task in itself. A voyage to Mars is not a simple road trip. It's an extraordinary undertaking, an epic journey spanning millions of miles and months of time. The distance between Earth and Mars varies, but on average it's about 140 million miles. That's the equivalent of going around the Earth 5,600 times. To get there, spacecraft follow a path called a Hohmann transfer orbit, a route that requires the least amount of energy. Imagine throwing a ball in a field. You wouldn't just aim straight at your target, you'd give it a bit of an arc to cover the distance. That's essentially what we're doing, but on a cosmic scale. Now, the journey to Mars isn't just about distance, it's also about time. Even traveling at incredible speeds, it takes about 7 to 9 months to reach the red planet. That's longer than a gestation period for a human baby. And this trip is not a leisurely cruise through the cosmos. Space is a hostile environment fraught with challenges. There's the relentless bombardment of cosmic radiation to contend with, not to mention the risk of micrometeor impacts. Then there's the psychological toll. Imagine being cooped up in a confined space for months on end with no fresh air, no change of scenery, and the constant fear of something going wrong. Even communication with Earth becomes a challenge. At its furthest point, Mars is about 20 minutes away in terms of light-speed communication. That means a round-trip conversation with mission control can take nearly an hour. In staging a Mars landing, all these factors must be convincingly portrayed. The duration, the route, the immense distances, the isolation, the dangers, all these elements contribute to the complexity of the journey. So when you think about it, staging a Mars landing isn't just about simulating a landing. It's about recreating an entire interplanetary journey. A staged journey to Mars would have to convincingly portray this long and arduous trip. And then comes the landing, the most pivotal moment. The descent onto the Martian surface is not for the faint of heart. It's a thrilling, high-stakes game of cosmic roulette, where the dice are loaded with speed, precision, and cutting-edge technology. Imagine hurtling towards an alien world at breakneck speed. We're talking about a blistering 20,000 kilometers per hour. It's a speed that makes our fastest race cars look like they're standing still. And it's at this mind-bending velocity that our spacecraft has to hit a very specific point in the Martian atmosphere. But it doesn't stop there. This is just the beginning of the 7 minutes of terror, a term coined by the engineers at NASA, to describe the harrowing descent onto Mars. The spacecraft has to slow down from its initial entry speed to 0 in just 7 minutes. Think about that for a moment. It's like going from a supersonic jet to a complete standstill in less time than it takes to brew a cup of tea. Now, consider the technology required for this daring feat. The spacecraft needs a heat shield to withstand the searing temperatures of entry. It needs a parachute, but not just any parachute. This has to be a supersonic parachute capable of slowing the spacecraft in the thin Martian atmosphere. Then there's the sky crane, a piece of engineering wizardry that lowers the rover gently onto the surface. But we're not out of the woods yet. The Martian surface is a rocky, unforgiving terrain. The lander has to touch down in a safe zone, avoiding boulders, cliffs, and craters. It's a bit like landing a helicopter on a postage stamp from a height of several kilometers. All this has to happen without any input from mission control back on Earth. The distance between the two planets means that radio signals take up to 20 minutes to travel one way. The entire landing sequence is automated, relying on the spacecraft's onboard computers. Staging a believable landing on Mars, that's the real challenge. It's a spectacle of speed, precision, and technology that's hard to replicate. But if you can pull it off, you've got yourself a convincing Mars landing. Life on Mars, a concept that has intrigued us for years. It's a topic that has fired up the imaginations of scientists, writers, and dreamers alike. But what would it really be like to live on the red planet? Mars, with its rusty red surface, is often called the sister planet to Earth due to its similarities. However, don't be fooled. This planet presents a harsh and inhospitable environment that would challenge even the most adventurous among us. The atmosphere on Mars is incredibly thin, about 100 times less dense than Earth's. It's mostly made up of carbon dioxide, with traces of nitrogen and argon and hardly any oxygen. This means we couldn't simply step outside for a breath of fresh Martian air. Temperatures on Mars are also a far cry from what we're used to here on Earth. They can plummet to minus 130 degrees Fahrenheit in the winter and reach a relatively balmy 70 degrees Fahrenheit in the summer. That's quite the wardrobe you'd need to pack, and let's not forget about the Martian dust. It's everywhere, fine and sticky, it gets into everything. This dust could cause a host of problems, from damaging equipment to affecting human health. Then there's the issue of gravity. Mars has only about 38% of the gravity that we have on Earth. This could have all sorts of effects on the human body over time, including muscle atrophy and bone density loss. Living on Mars would certainly be challenging. It would require innovation, resilience, and a willingness to live in conditions that are unlike anything we have ever experienced on Earth. It would be a life of isolation, of groundbreaking discovery, and of untold adaptation. Replicating these conditions convincingly would be the final hurdle in staging a Mars landing. But as we've seen, the reality of life on Mars is not just about surviving, it's about pioneering a whole new way of living. It's about stepping into the unknown and making it home. So, staging a Mars landing, an arduous task indeed. Over the course of this video, we've journeyed through the intricacies of this audacious task, piecing together the elements necessary to create a believable Martian spectacle. We began with the big question: how do you stage a Mars landing? The answer, as we've discovered, is not quite as straightforward as one might imagine. It requires a deep understanding of Mars itself, its atmosphere, geography, and the challenges it presents to human exploration. Our second stop was an in-depth look at Mars, the red planet itself. We delved into its unique characteristics, its stark landscapes, and its unforgiving conditions. Next, we turned our attention to the rocket. This isn't just any vehicle, it's a marvel of engineering designed to withstand the rigors of space travel and capable of making the long journey to Mars. We discussed the intricacies of rocket design and how one might go about creating a believable facsimile. The journey to Mars, our fourth topic, is no simple voyage. It's a 6-month trek through the cold and hostile vacuum of space. We talked about the challenges of this journey, the isolation, the physical toll, and how they could be convincingly portrayed. Upon reaching Mars, the landing is a crucial moment. It's an event fraught with danger, where every calculation, every maneuver must be executed with precision. We explored how to recreate this dramatic moment, the descent through the Martian atmosphere, the landing itself, and the first steps on Martian soil. And finally, we discussed living on Mars, the day-to-day reality for those bold enough to make this journey. We pondered how to replicate the Martian habitat, the limited resources, the isolation, and the sheer will required to survive in such a harsh environment. So, after all this, what have we learned? Staging a Mars landing is a monumental challenge. It's not just about creating a convincing set or a realistic rocket, it's about capturing the essence of the journey, the struggle, the triumph, and the sheer audacity of this incredible feat. It's about understanding the reality of space exploration, the scientific marvels, and the human spirit that makes it possible. While it's a captivating concept, the reality of staging a Mars landing is a testament to the marvels of space exploration itself.